In the imagination of the world, Venice Beach glimmers like something lifted straight from a cinematic postcard. A place where sunsets melt into gold, skateboarders weave effortlessly through warm ocean air, and street artists splash color across canvas while tourists stroll by with iced coffee in hand. Music drifts from open apartment windows, waves roll in with rhythmic tenderness, and every corner seems soaked in the effortless magic of the California dream. For millions, Venice Beach is freedom embodied, a playground for creativity, adventure, and the kind of life that feels suspended between reality and fantasy. But just a few steps past the lively boardwalk, where cameras click and influencers pose, the postcard folds into a harsher truth, one almost never captured in glossy brochures or travel vlogs. Along the sidewalks, tents form a second shoreline made of nylon and tarp. Belongings are stacked against palm trees like fragile fortresses, guarding the last pieces of someone's dignity. Shopping carts serve as both suitcase and shelter. People sleep on flattened cardboard under the looming shadows of beachfront apartments, valued in the millions, their quiet breaths drowned out by ocean waves and distant laughter. The scent of sunscreen mingles with the unmistakable trace of fatigue, and the vibrant soundtrack of tourism competes with the heavy silence of survival. This is the unseen Venice Beach, the place where beauty and suffering coexist without touching, where the California dream and the American crisis meet on the same stretch of sand. Two worlds share the same horizon, yet rarely acknowledge each other, except in brief, passing glances that vanish as quickly as footprints in the tide. Every visitor comes for the ocean, but only a few truly see the people who have nowhere else to go. And here begins this documentary about the homeless, not with numbers, not with charts, but with the sharp contrast of two realities living side by side along the same shimmering coast, how the crisis was born. Crises do not begin overnight. They build, layer by layer, year by year, through systems that slowly fail and structures that quietly crumble. Venice Beach did not wake up one morning to find hundreds of people living in tents. The beginnings were subtle, almost invisible, like a small crack that eventually spreads across the entire wall. Over the past decade, the cost of living in Los Angeles skyrocketed. From 2020 onward, the average rent in Venice Beach rose nearly 40%. Studios that once cost $1,600 jumped to over $3,000. One-bedroom apartments soared past $3,800 a month, more than many residents' monthly income, even before taxes. People who worked full-time jobs, servers, delivery drivers, security guards, began to fall behind. Some tried to move farther inland. Some took second jobs. Some cut meals, skipped medical care, slept in their cars. But the wave of rising costs was too strong for many to withstand. One misfortune, an illness, a job loss, a broken relationship, an unexpected bill was enough to drag them underwater. As new investors poured money into the neighborhood, Venice changed. Historic apartments were torn down and replaced with luxury condos. Single-room units, once home to low-income seniors and working-class families, were converted into short-term rentals. For every building renovated, another community disappeared. The people who once gave Venice its character, artists, immigrants, dreamers, survivors, found themselves priced out of their own neighborhood. Simultaneously, California's mental health and addiction treatment infrastructure weakened. Clinics closed. Social service waitlists grew. Affordable housing units lagged far behind demand. Social workers were overwhelmed. Emergency shelters were overflowing. What remained was a fragile safety net, one that many fell through. Venice Beach became the final stop for thousands who lost their homes but refused to lose their hope. And so another layer of this documentary about the homeless begins not in the chaos of the streets, but in the slow erosion of stability. The people who fall first. Homelessness does not discriminate, yet some people are more vulnerable to its relentless grip Venice Beach is full of such lives, each one carrying a unique story, yet bound together by a common thread of hardship, resilience, and quiet suffering. Here, survival is an unspoken struggle, and every day carries the weight of uncertainty. In the quiet corners of side streets, women sit alone in parked cars, locking their doors for the night. These are women who once worked tirelessly, juggling 2 jobs, paying bills on time, and raising children with unwavering determination. Now, they huddle in the back seat, blankets pulled over their laps, hoping the fogged-up windows shield them from the eyes of passers-by. When morning comes, they wash their faces in public restrooms, braid their hair carefully, straighten their clothes, and step into the world as if nothing has changed, because no one can see the night they spent sleeping in a car. The invisible strain, the exhaustion, and the constant vigilance are their unacknowledged companions. On the bustling boardwalk, older men and women quietly count coins to buy a cup of coffee, a simple purchase that offers not only warmth, but a few precious hours of dignity. Many of these individuals spent decades working in construction, retail, or service industries, believing that hard work would secure them a stable future. Yet now, rising rents and shrinking pensions have rendered their lifelong efforts insufficient. Their backs ache, legs tremble, but they keep moving. Stopping is not an option. Stillness brings vulnerability, and vulnerability can be dangerous. Behind the skate park, small groups of people in their 20s and early 30s gather in circles that are as much about protection as companionship. Some aged out of foster care with no safety net, while others fled abusive homes only to find the streets indifferent to their suffering. Mistakes, misjudgments, and untimely decisions have left permanent marks, proving that even one wrong turn in life can have cascading consequences. Mental illness, in many cases, is not the starting point, but a consequence of homelessness. Anxiety escalates with every night spent wondering if their possessions will be swept away at sunrise. Depression deepens as strangers avert their gaze, refusing acknowledgement of the person beneath the struggle. Trauma compounds with each cold night and every moment of unpredictability, turning survival into a daily test of endurance. Loss permeates every aspect of life on the streets. It is the loss of home, yes, but also the loss of identity, confidence, and a sense of belonging. The self they once recognized is fragmented, leaving only fragments of memory and hope to cling to. These individuals, with their quiet resilience and haunting stories, form the living human fabric of Venice Beach. They are not statistics, and their existence cannot be reduced to numbers. They are real people with dreams, regrets, and dignity. This is the heart of the hidden Venice Beach, and their stories deserve to be seen, heard, and honored. These are the faces, the struggles, and the narratives that define this place, a place that is at once vibrant and broken. They are waiting to be witnessed. And this is precisely why this documentary about the homeless exists, to capture the unseen lives that unfold silently alongside the glimmering boardwalk, to bring attention to the humanity often overlooked, and to remind viewers that every person has a story worth telling. The rhythm of survival. Life on the streets follows a routine few outsiders understand. To survive, people must move constantly, physically, emotionally, mentally. The day is not measured by hours, but by risks and necessities. Most wake before the sun rises. They must pack their tents, fold their blankets, secure their belongings before city crews arrive for cleaning. Anything left unattended can disappear, sometimes accidentally, sometimes permanently. Every possession becomes precious. A pair of shoes, a sleeping bag, a family photo, a notebook filled with memories. Next begins the daily search for necessities. Hydration becomes a challenge in the heat. Bathrooms are scarce and widely spaced. A bottle of water, a shady spot under a palm tree. A bench untouched by crowds. These small things determine whether the day feels manageable or unbearable. Tourists pass by wearing sunglasses, carrying beach towels, laughing about trivial things. They glance at the tents but look away quickly. For them, this place is a temporary escape. For people living here, it is a test of endurance. Still, the two worlds exist inches apart. A woman unrolling her yoga mat next to a man waking up from a cold night on concrete. Between 11 a.m. and 4 p.m., the sun is brutal. Many roam not because they want to, but because constant movement makes them less likely to be bothered. They kill time until evening when temperatures cool. Some read found books. Some draw in sketch pads. Some sit alone, staring at the ocean as if trying to remember a past version of themselves. As the sun sets and crowds thin, people quietly rebuild their temporary shelters. Tents rise again along sidewalks. Blankets spread out near palm trees. Conversations turn soft. Fears resurface. Fear of theft, harassment, confrontation. But exhaustion eventually wins. Sleep comes unevenly, like a fragile guest who never stays long. This is life on Venice Beach. And this part of the documentary about the homeless is perhaps the most misunderstood. The quiet, slow, crushing weight of survival. Voices lost and voices remembered. To speak about homelessness is one thing, but to truly hear it from those living through it is an entirely different experience. Their voices carry truths that statistics and news reports can never capture. Truths that challenge assumptions, awaken empathy, and confront viewers with the raw reality hidden beneath the sun-soaked boardwalk of Venice Beach. Many express gratitude for the smallest gestures, the kinds of acts that most of us pass by without notice. A warm cup of soup handed over by a volunteer, a simple smile from a stranger, a donated blanket that offers both warmth and dignity, or a conversation in which someone truly sees them rather than judging. One man shared with quiet humility, "I don't need someone to fix my life. I just need someone to talk to me like I'm still a human being." Isolation is one of the deepest wounds of homelessness. Even in a city as bustling as Venice Beach, so many feel invisible. Some have not spoken to family in years, while others hide their struggles from friends. Many carry the heavy burden of societal shame, imposed not by their own actions, but by the systems that failed them, leaving them to survive in public spaces that often feel hostile or indifferent. Yet, what these individuals seek is not luxury. They do not ask for extravagance or indulgence. They ask for the simplest forms of stability: a door that locks, a shower where they can wash without fear, a place to rest without the threat of being forced to move again. They want something fundamental: to matter, to exist in a way that is recognized and respected. Their voices are not broken, they are brave. They demand to be remembered, not as statistics or cautionary tales, but as human beings with dignity, hopes, and dreams. Each story contributes depth, context, and empathy to the conversation, reminding us that homelessness is not a choice or a personal failing. It is a societal challenge, one that can only be addressed when humanity takes notice. This is the heart of the documentary about the homeless, amplifying voices that are too often ignored, giving life and identity to those whom society overlooks, and creating a bridge of understanding between viewers and the people who live, struggle, and survive every day on the streets of Venice Beach. Government efforts and their limits. Los Angeles has not turned a blind eye to the crisis of homelessness. Billions of dollars have been allocated, programs launched, and shelters expanded in an effort to respond to a problem that grows more complex by the day. These efforts are real, tangible, and life-changing for many, but so too are the challenges that persist, stubbornly resistant to quick fixes or easy solutions. The Inside Safe initiative represents one of the city's most ambitious attempts to provide stability. More than 3,000 people across Los Angeles County have been placed in temporary housing through the program, including roughly 280 individuals from Venice Beach itself. For those who enter the system, the initiative provides more than a roof. It offers case management, transitional support, and a rare opportunity to rebuild a life disrupted by poverty, trauma, or systemic neglect. Gratitude runs deep among participants. For many, simply having a place to sleep and someone to guide them through daily hurdles is a profound relief. Yet even with these successes, difficult questions remain unanswered. Is the assistance enough to meet the scale of the problem? Are these solutions permanent or merely a temporary reprieve? Can programs expand quickly enough to keep pace with the growing need in a city where every day more people lose housing than find it? In 2025 alone, Los Angeles committed over $1.3 billion to combating homelessness, with more than 8,000 supportive housing units either underway or planned. These numbers reflect significant progress and signal a long overdue recognition of the crisis. Yet thousands of residents remain on waitlists, and many of these housing units will not be ready for years. Meanwhile, streets continue to fill with tents, cars, and makeshift shelters. Policy and planning provide structure, but they cannot instantly replace the immediate safety, stability, and dignity that people require. Shelters, while vital, are not always a complete solution. Some are full, while others are avoided due to fear, trauma, restrictive rules, or the overcrowded conditions that exacerbate feelings of instability. For many, the autonomy of a tent or a small personal space on the beach, however precarious, offers a fragile sense of control in a life otherwise dictated by circumstance. The government can erect buildings, fund programs, and enact policies, but rebuilding trust, restoring hope, and nurturing human dignity takes far longer. The gap between policy and lived experience is stark, and in that space, compassion becomes the essential counterpart to bureaucracy. Light in the darkness. Despite the overwhelming challenges, Venice Beach is not a hopeless place. It holds pockets of love, resilience, and humanity that shine like lighthouses in the storm. Local volunteers distribute meals every evening. Some bring blankets, socks, hygiene kits. Others offer conversations, smiles, or simply presence. They remind people that kindness still exists. Small centers run by nonprofits provide showers, phone charging, counseling, and job training. For some, these centers are the first step towards stability. They offer structure, they offer routine, they offer hope. Venice has always been a home for creatives. Some artists use their talent to raise awareness, painting murals, filming interviews, capturing stories with integrity. Their work rehumanizes the people society has pushed aside. Within the tent communities, people share food, protect each other at night, offer emotional support, and divide resources. Strangers become family. Survival becomes collective. This chapter of the documentary about the homeless shows that even in crisis, humanity persists. A personal reflection and call to empathy. Venice Beach is more than sun, sand, and surf. It is a mirror held up to society, forcing a reckoning we often avoid. Walking along its boardwalk, one cannot help but confront uncomfortable questions. Why do some lives flourish while others collapse so quickly? Why do we celebrate the ocean's beauty yet walk past the people sleeping beside it as if they do not exist? Why does it feel easier to look away than to meet another human being with compassion and acknowledgement? The truth, stark and humbling, is simple. Homelessness can happen to anyone. One bad month, one medical emergency, one job lost or reduced. Any of these moments can shatter the fragile stability that most of us take for granted. In Venice Beach, stability is a fragile illusion for thousands of residents who are just one misstep away from losing everything. This moment of reflection, much like a documentary about the homeless, does not seek to induce guilt. It asks for something deeper: understanding. Understanding that every person on the street is more than a statistic, more than a cautionary tale. They are human beings with histories, dreams, and dignity, struggling to survive in a world that often ignores them. Real change does not require grand gestures. It begins in small, intentional acts. Offering a smile that acknowledges presence, a greeting that affirms existence, or a conversation that listens without judgment. It grows through supporting local organizations, advocating for affordable housing, and making choices that prioritize humanity over indifference. Even voting can become an act of empathy, shaping policies that protect the vulnerable rather than leaving them behind. Empathy is the first step toward any real solution. It is the foundation upon which meaningful action is built. By choosing to see, hear, and respond to those living on the margins, we not only honor their struggles, but also reaffirm the values that define us as a compassionate community. A documentary about the homeless exists to illuminate these truths, to remind viewers that change begins with recognition, and that every small act of care has the power to ripple outward, transforming lives and communities alike. America's mirror. Venice Beach is not an isolated phenomenon. Its streets, boardwalks, and hidden corners reflect a truth far larger than the golden sand or the laughter of tourists. They hold up a mirror to America itself, revealing deep fractures that cut across the nation. Staggering income inequality, persistent housing shortages, a mental health system stretched beyond its limits, the stigma surrounding addiction, and safety nets that too often fail those who need them most. These are not simply urban problems. They are challenges that define the country as a whole, affecting millions in towns and cities far beyond the California coast. Even as Los Angeles celebrated a 17% reduction in unsheltered homelessness in 2025, these statistics reveal only part of the story. Beneath the numbers lies a persistent reality. Rents remain high, treatment options remain scarce, and affordable housing is still in critically short supply. For every person moved into a shelter, there are others still navigating the streets, invisible yet undeniably present. Venice Beach, with its juxtaposition of luxury condos and tented encampments, serves as a stark emblem of this imbalance, a visual testament to how prosperity and deprivation can exist mere feet apart. The story of Venice Beach is ultimately a story about choice, the choice to see, to listen, and to act. It is a challenge issued to every community, every policymaker, and every individual. To measure success not solely in wealth or progress, but in the humanity and dignity extended to the most vulnerable. Through empathy, understanding, and sustained commitment, change is possible. And this documentary about the homeless aims to ensure that the voices, struggles, and resilience of those living on the margins are neither forgotten nor ignored. Conclusion. A choice about humanity. In the end, homelessness is not merely about tents lining sidewalks or people sleeping beneath swaying palm trees. It is a reflection of the values a society chooses to uphold, a measure of whether humanity triumphs over indifference. Do we see one another? Do we extend empathy when it is easiest to turn away? Do we commit to solutions? Or do we cling to excuses that preserve comfort at the expense of those in need? Venice Beach may serve as the backdrop, its boardwalks and encampments providing a stark visual contrast. But the story is universal. It could be any city, any neighborhood, any one of us. The streets of Venice, with their hidden lives and untold struggles, serve as a mirror for communities across the nation, revealing what happens when society neglects the vulnerable. This essay, much like the final chapter of a documentary about the homeless, is not merely an invitation to witness. It is a call to care, to take action, and to redefine what it means to be human. Every small gesture, a smile, a conversation, advocacy, or support for housing initiatives becomes a thread in the fabric of change. The future depends on the choices we make today, whether we continue to look away or whether we finally, courageously choose to see, truly see, the people whose lives are too often invisible, yet whose humanity is undeniable.